G'day, Rockhound here. Welcome to Mavericks Proving Grounds News, the series where I give you updates about the massively multiplayer tactical shooter Mavericks Proving Grounds, which is currently being developed by Automaton. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this one. I have a number of updates about the game this week, including a summary of the developer's third roundtable video. But before I take a look at that, I want to review some details and previously unseen footage of the game that emerged recently. The video, which was recorded by Unilad Gaming at the Game Developers Conference back in March, was found by a Mavericks Discord user known as the Neon Arcade, so a big thanks to him. In this first freeze frame, we can see players competing in what is most likely an area of the Mavericks map known as the Nature Reserve, which appears to be near or within the game's social hub known as Capital Island. The tall tower in the background is likely showing player deaths as they occur within the game. We can also see the game's circle or zone in front of the tower shown as concentric rings in the sky, confirming that a fairly standard playing circle, similar to that of PUBG, will be used. The Mavericks development team have previously alluded to providing a strong backstory or lore within the game, and it'll be interesting to see if we actually get an explanation of why the game zone circle exists or how it operates as part of this, which is something that other Battle Royale games simply ignore. In this shot we see one of the many towers located on the map with the game zone surrounding it, so it's possible that the towers across the map and the game zone circle itself may be somehow mechanically linked from a game story perspective. I guess we'll find out more about that down the track. In this next shot we see a player next to one of the loot crates with a weapon sitting on top of it. We still don't know the exact way that loot will be presented within the game, and this arrangement may have been set up to make gameplay at the Game Developers Conference simpler for those people trying it out. Here we see what is sure to be one of Maverick's signature features, a gas bottle being shot, exploding, and then destroying the wooden shack next to it. Previous footage of these explosions had not shown the shack being damaged, so it looks like this animation has since been developed. We also see the game circle again in the background of this shot. In addition to the new footage, I also want to discuss an important comment about monetization in the game that Automaton's CEO James Thompson made in an interview with PC Games Insider, for which I've posted a link to the full article in the video description below. James was quoted as saying, "We have worked at studios before where we've had venture capital funding and other problems like that. We're not going to have any of those politics on a board level or anything else. We can be very flexible with our monetization strategy and can be very sensitive. We have a number of principles as a studio. Anything that is tied to any sort of real-world value is not overlapping on your player's body or anything in terms of cosmetics with in-game progress." This is a pretty strong position from the developers because it means that the game's progression system is likely to be strong and well separated from any in-game purchases. In recent times we've seen other developers struggle to find the right blend of these things, especially with the temptation produced by the volume of money in-game microtransactions can bring. We all know that game developers must make a profit because games simply won't exist without it, and it can be challenging for them to make a game both financially viable and an excellent player experience without players feeling like in-game purchases have affected their experience or ability to compete. Fortunately, it appears that the Mavericks team have the view that focusing on an excellent and immersive game experience is the key to a financially successful game. Personally, I would be okay with some cosmetics being purchased in-game, as long as they differ from those achieved through progression. It'll be interesting to see if there are any in-game purchases at all with Mavericks, and if so, what those are for. I'm looking forward to finding out more about how the progression system works, and I'll be sure to update you as soon as I know more. Okay, on to the developers' third roundtable discussion, which is essentially an opportunity for members of the team to answer questions about the game that the community have posted on the Mavericks Reddit page. This week the team answered questions about the game environment, and the very first question was possibly one of the most important questions asked so far, and that revolved around night mode within the game and exactly how dark will nighttime be. Mavericks producer Craig Scott said that while he likes realistic darkness, He's aware that it's not actually that great for video games, but conversely what he calls cinematic darkness is often too light, so Mavericks will probably fall somewhere in between. The devs also said that they want nighttime to affect gameplay, and for items within the game to play an important role when it gets darker, but it's finding the right level of darkness that is important. It does concern me a little that when asked how they will handle players that might adjust their video settings to gain an unfair advantage when it's dark, this was their response.
That's a tricky one.
However, in all fairness, Craig Scott did go on to say that he doesn't think it will be dark enough for video settings to make a huge difference, and they may be able to come up with a tech solution if it is an issue. Now this is really important because while it will be awesome to have darkness within the game, it also shouldn't be done at the expense of gameplay, and I'm sure there will be plenty of feedback from players during the closed beta for the game coming up at the end of June as to whether they've found the right balance or not. The devs then went on to answer a couple of questions that I had posted for them, the first being that if Mavericks' environment is inspired by the Scottish landscape, does that also mean that the map will have a highish latitude and therefore have lower angle sunlight, potentially causing sunstrike during the game? They said that while they'll have elements of low angle sunlight like you see in the early morning or late afternoon, probably they'll have the sun pass through more typical angles for lower latitudes. However, this sounds like it's something that they could easily experiment with during beta testing. My second question was asking if rainfall would result in streams and rivers across the map rising quickly, potentially posing the risk to players of being swept away as they try to cross those watercourses. At this stage they ruled out that happening, but they did mention that they've talked about raising water levels associated with possible acts of destruction, like blowing up a hydro dam. They're definitely going to test these kinds of scenarios, but aren't committing to actually having them in the game at this stage. The next question was asking how much of the map they have completed so far. In short, a lot of the feature areas are complete, and they say that the in-between areas can be completed pretty quickly following that. They also liken those feature areas to being like individual battlefield maps joined together with spaces in between, with the level of design they've put into their layout and detail similar to those in Battlefield, bearing in mind that those areas in Mavericks are going to be open to other parts of the map. This discussion flowed into the following question, which was about how many different environment types the map will have. They didn't want to give away too much, but they did say that there will be a wide variety. So far we've really only seen the forest in the nature reserve area, where early gameplay has been recorded. They also talked about adding curious interactive items in the game, like interactive household items in the buildings for instance. They said that they've been keen on adding silly little things into the game, and I certainly hope there will be a few interesting and ongoing Easter eggs and secret locations thrown in there. However, they've also made the point that at this stage their focus is on creating a great base game, and that those kind of things can come down the track. A core part of that base game will be environmental destructibility, and the devs said that they want the environment to be immersive, and that will include putting individual bullet holes in windows, breaking out chunks of glass with multiple bullets, blowing holes in thin walls with grenades, knocking down small trees with vehicles, and also the ability to propagate fire through foliage. They made a point of saying that they want these sorts of fires to be a significant feature of the game, and call me a pyromaniac, but that's something that I can't wait to do in the game. They also said it's unlikely they would allow grenades to form craters that you can use as a foxhole, because it's a feature that might get overused. The last question was whether players would get to experience the alpha version of the game, and the answer from the devs was a clear no, as they said players wouldn't enjoy the game in that state, and the devs really want to use the closed beta as their main source for player feedback. Craig Scott also made an important point that names for these phases are fluid within the industry, which is something I completely agree with. Whether a game is available for playing in alpha, beta, or as early access, or whatever you want to call it, all of these are effectively marketing terms for saying that the developers want to provide players with pre-launch access to a game, and in turn, the players should lower their expectations for what the game will deliver at that stage. It is done because developers need player feedback to fine-tune the game, or because they need money to continue developing the game, or both. Pure and simple. Well, that wraps up my summary of the latest developer roundtable. The next developer diary, or Making Mavericks episode, will cover characters in the game, so look out for my next video on that. Let me know your thoughts on what you want to see in the Mavericks environment, and please consider liking and subscribing if you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.